Hello. Oh goodness, you can stop that. Hey guys, I just love you guys so much, and I am just so excited to be able to talk to you guys today. But I'm gonna be real for a second, and I'm sorry that was a little cringe, but I just want to share I am a little bit nervous today, and that comes from, thanks, that comes from a sense of like anticipation for like how important this message is. And I just want you guys to know, like, dial in tonight. It's hard to not get distracted after a long day. But I just want to invite you guys like to really dial in, really pay attention. And the focus isn't on me, it's on God tonight. So I just want to pray that you guys will do that. And speaking of praying, I want to start by praying. So the password into God's presence is thank you. So let's start by doing that tonight. Pray with me. Lord, I just want to thank you so much for the breath in our lungs, Lord, for the beating of our hearts, and just for your presence. I just want to thank you for letting us be able to gather in your name, Lord, with our peers and with our family and with our life group leaders, Lord. I just want to thank you for that. Lord, will you meet us where we are tonight? Will you speak to us like individually where we are, and put on our hearts what it is that you want us to take with us from here on. I just want to thank you again for who you are. Pray that you will limit distractions and you will help us to just be real. It's in Jesus' name, amen. So I am an avid fan of Be Real, and to show you guys how much I love it, I decided to show you some of my Be Reals. So first up we have this one. It's from Crosswalk. Some of them are like sideways, sorry, just deal with it. Okay, and then the next one, let's see, also Crosswalk. And then the last one we have, yeah, that's real, like a real picture from when I met the man in the church. It was really dark at night. Anyways, next up we have probably another Crosswalk one. Oh, no, this is Jensen. He likes to take my phone and do them for me. Next we have, oh, this was Mission Arlington. That was fun. Yeah? We went and played on a playground at lunch. That was fun. Okay, and then next is Crosswalk again, the game room. All right, and then I think this is the last slide of them. Let's see, next up we have Passion. That was so cool, Passion Conference. There's about a lot of numbers in that people. Whoa, let's do that in a different order. A lot of people in that picture, because there's a lot of people there. Okay, next up we have, okay, this was when I was a student. I was sitting like somewhere over there, so kind of old. Okay, next up we have, I think the last one. Oh, my mom. She was taking my Be Real. Okay, I actually lied. There's one more slide of them. Okay, and these are all from camp, so enjoy. We have me and Tim and Liam and Sydney in the snack shack, and then we have me and Brandon on stage. What's in the box? And then our last one from camp is some watermelon. Yep, Josh enjoying some watermelon. Okay, so I have Be Real. You can go like follow me if you want. You don't have to, but I love to do it. But anyways, so here's the thing. I have a quote. This is just from you can go to the next slide, from a website called Insider Intelligence, and it says, Be Real skyrocketed in popularity, so it got super popular thanks to its focus on authenticity. That's a big word. We'll talk about it in a second. So the photos on Be Real are unfiltered, they're unedited, and you even like get a mark that tells you if someone retakes it, right? It's kind of embarrassing sometimes. Photos taken outside of the 2-minute frame are marked with how late they were posted, so it kind of calls you out too, right? If you were late. But here's the thing I want to bring up, like, why is Be Real so, why is it so intriguing and why is it so popular? Well, it's because we crave realness. Whether you like know it or not, like whether you're aware or not, like you crave for people to be real with you and you crave to be real with others, but there's just things that stop you from doing that, right? So Be Real, like you don't have the option whether or not to put a filter on your photo, and I think that that's what gives people comfort in posting. You don't have to like choose, and everybody's doing it. So you can't really like choose to do that. Therefore, you can't choose to like put that filter, like that mask on you. So that's just kind of why I think Be Real is so popular. It's just because we crave realness. So back to the word authenticity. This just means like to be honest with yourself and with others, and taking responsibility for your mistakes. Your values and your ideals and your actions, they all align. So that means I'm the same person at school as I am at home, as I am at Crosswalk, as I am with my friend that's out of state. Like, you are the same person no matter where you are. Your beliefs, your actions, and what you value is all the same. So being authentic means living according, it's our next little, yep, there we go. Being authentic means living according to how God sees you and what he made you to be. So as Christians, to live out authenticity, we want to live out the way that God sees us and the way that he created us to be. So my points are kind of all over the place. I really wanted to give you a matching letter for like all of my points, but unfortunately that just did not happen, but we're just going to go with it. So my first one is we should strive to live authentically. So we should strive to live honestly. We should strive to live the same everywhere, right? So in 1 Samuel 16:7, it's on the screen and on your handout, it says, "But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance or on the height of his statue, because I have rejected him. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." So what I want to get you guys to understand by this is that you can't play God. He knows who you are on the inside. He sees your heart, right? With you guys, I could totally act and be whoever I want to be and then go back to school and be whomever else I want to be, and you guys wouldn't know, right? I can do that with you guys, but I can't do that with God. He knows who I am, he knows my motives, he knows my ideals, and I can't fake it with him. That's just the truth because he's our creator, right? And so whether you're honest with those around you or not, God knows what's going on, right? And you can even try to lie to him, but it just doesn't work, right? He can see right through it, okay? So my next point comes from Proverbs 11:3, and it says, "Honesty guides good people. Dishonesty destroys treacherous people." And another word for treacherous would be deceiving. So whenever someone's fake, right, they're deceiving you. And so what I want to gather from this is honesty and realness is so important, and that's where we get authenticity, right? I keep saying real, I keep saying honesty, and that is authenticity. So have any of you ever heard a testimony of faith from someone that was previously addicted to drugs? Anybody? Some of us have, some of us haven't. But here's the thing, why is it so moving that we hear someone talk about how they used to be addicted to drugs and they used to find their worth in something that was so harmful, but then they came to Christ and they gave their life to Christ, and then now they're able to live life with him? Well, here's the thing, it follows the same pattern, right? There's sin, and then there is a coming to faith, and then there's walking with God, right? So anyone can just say and be, hey guys, be serious, please. Thank you. So what is so moving about a drug addict's testimony is that they're so honest and they're so real, right? They're not trying to fake it with you. They're being real, and they're trying to be very personable with you, right? Because we know that God is capable of saving anybody. That's the truth. And that drug addict that we're talking about, he could leave out all the details and God would still be good, right? But because he's so honest and because he's so just being true about whatever it is that he was going through, it makes it personable, right? All right, so our next verse is Matthew 23:27 through 28. It says, "What sorrow awaits you, teachers of religious law, and you Pharisees, Hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside, but filled on the inside with dead people's bones and all sorts of impurity. Outwardly, you look like righteous people, but inwardly, your hearts are filled with hypocrisy and lawlessness. Man, that hits me, right? Like, that's so, can you imagine, like, Jesus saying that to you or about you? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't move you as much as it does me, but that kind of hurts my heart a little bit. Here's the thing. So Jesus is basically saying you're all being fake. Like, you know, whenever you comment on your friend that posted late on Be Real, you say be fake, right? And that's basically what he's saying. He's like, you're being fake. You're not being real. You think you're doing everything right, and you think you're walking the way you're supposed to, but on the inside, like, you don't really trust me. Like, you don't really live authentically. So also something to think about is, like, whenever you hide all of that inside and you're not honest about it and you're not authentic about it, then that light of Jesus that is so awesome and so powerful is never going to shine on the darkness that you're hiding. So it's important that you are bringing those things to light. Okay, next we have our next point, which says, don't trade your authenticity for approval. So how many of you are people pleasers? People pleasers. You just want to make people happy. You want to do everything right? I'm a people pleaser. I'm very, very guilty. Very guilty of that. So our next verse comes from Ephesians 4:22 through 25, and it says, throw off your old sinful nature and your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. Instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes. Put on your new nature, created to be like God, truly righteous and holy. So stop telling lies. Let us tell our neighbors the truth, for we are all parts of the same body. Okay, so this is so super duper important. Authenticity has become rare. How many of you, my older ones might have known this more, but like, how many of you knew what authenticity meant before we kind of explained it? I definitely see some hands, but not as many as there should be. We know what we like want it to mean whenever we say be real, but like, how many of you know the majority of your friends that are like super real? Don't raise your hand, but just think about it. Like, how many people do you know that are like real and they're not fake or called out for being fake? See what I mean? It's rare. Buried underneath approval of others is authenticity, because it becomes more about living your truth rather than living God's truth. I'm going to say that again. We lack authenticity because we try to live out our own truth, like do what you are supposed to do, like be who you want to be true to yourself, rather than like live out God's purpose for you and live the way God wants you to do and the way that you were created to be, right? Do you see the difference there? That's where we get lost in fakeness, basically. And so it says at the end, we are all parts of the same body. So together, like all of us believers, we make up the body of Christ. And whenever you're fake and whenever you're not real with those around you, your fellow believers, then you are tempting your other believers to fall into comparison. Because how many times, I'm so guilty, you're swiping on Instagram, right, looking at all those influencers that aren't allowed to be real, and you're like, wow, I'm going to speak to the girls for a second. Her hair looks so much better than mine, and wow, she's so skinny, I could never be like that. Or she seems like she shops at all the pretty boutiques, and I'm just so jealous, right? Like, comparison it's real. Like, it's just as real as like we should be, but it's harmful. And so whenever you put on this mask and this like fakeness, all you're doing is allowing others to compare themselves, like their real selves, to this fake person that you've created. Does that make sense? Are y'all following me? Or am I losing you? Because you create this like fake person, this like perfect face, right? And all you want to do is strive to be like that, whenever in reality, like, that's not achievable. And so Romans 12:2 is our next verse. It says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That sentence is so powerful. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. So the word conform means that you change like what you believe in order to fit into something. So if you were to conform to the world, then you're going to change the way that you think. I'm not good enough unless I do this. I'm not good enough unless I look like this. Like you're changing the things that you believe in order to fit in with the world. And we're told don't do that. Like we're supposed to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You know, you've been told live in the world, but don't be like the world, right? As Christians, we're supposed to go against the grain, but still be in there with them so that we can disciple people, right, and bring them to Christ. All right, next verse we have Matthew 22:37 through 40. Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first," that's important, underline that, "and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the laws and the prophets hand on these two commandments." That's not what that's supposed to say. Okay, anyways, so follow me here for a second. So we seek approval from those that we love, yes? The people that you love, you want them to approve you. You want them to like you. You want them to love you back, right? Well, we especially seek approval from those that we love first. I'm a people pleaser, and I oftentimes let my actions like change and shift based off of the person that I'm trying to get approval of, and that's wrong. Like I'm standing here saying that is wrong, I shouldn't do that. But like, here's an example. We love our parents, right? Or our guardians, or you know, our family in our life, and oftentimes you may say one thing to their face, but go and do something different whenever you're not around them. I'm not trying to call anybody out or anything, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes we say one thing to please our parents, but then that's not necessarily what we're doing when we're with our friends late at night. And you're putting on this fakeness, and your parents can believe it all day. They may or may not, but they could, right? Because that's what you're saying to them. But here's the thing. So when you love God first, pretending doesn't work. Like, authenticity is more crucial. And whenever you love God first and you put him first, then you're trained to be more authentic, because you can't like play God, like I said. Like that pretending doesn't work. And so putting him first and loving him first will train you to be authentic. It'll help you to be more comfortable being authentic, right? And then he says, like it is love your neighbor as yourself. So then you're able to take what you've learned and learning how to be authentic and take it into your friendships and your relationships and everything, right? So it's important that you put God first on that list of people that you love, because whenever you are loving him and all of that, you can't fake it. Like, you can try, but it's not going to work, right? Anyway, so that leads us to our next point, which is being authentic shouldn't be scary. So I feel like this was a little bit silly, like this phrase, being authentic shouldn't be scary, because like, you know, what would be scary about it? Like, are you guys scared to like be real with people? No? Yes? Hearing hesitation, which probably means that you are, right? So if I were to tell you that in groups tonight, you're going to be your authentic self, you're going to take off every face that you've ever put on, every fake face, and you're just going to be your authentic selves, what do you feel? Nervous? I see MC's face, she's like, oh my goodness. Like, that makes you feel nervous. But it shouldn't be scary, because whenever people like say we're going to be our authentic selves, what you assume is that you're just going to take all of those terrible things you've done and just lay them out on a table and say, yep, this is all I've done, that's me, that's my authentic self, and just hope that nobody judges you. Is that kind of like where y'all's brains were maybe? Like you were just thinking you were supposed to say all the bad things that you've ever done or thought or said, okay? That's where my mind goes first. But that's not the truth. Like, when we're our authentic selves, that means like we are embracing who God created us to be, and he made you so good, guys. Like, for real, like it's important to acknowledge all of the good things that God created in you. Like, you are beautiful and you're wonderfully made, and it's like important to embrace that. I consider it a form of worship to say, God, like, thank you for making me encouraging. And it's not necessarily boastful. Like, you can do it in a very humble way and embrace the things that God put in you that are good. So being authentic shouldn't be scary, because it's not just laying out all of your bad things that you've ever done. So scars are not always pretty. Like, you get hurt, you bump your arm or something, I don't know, if you're Jensen, you are on a hoverboard and you run into a metal thing and open your knee with the metal of the, like, couch thing. Anyway, so scars are not always pretty after they heal. My guys, though, y'all like to brag about scars. Like it's so cool to have a scar, right? That's gross. Okay, so listen, why do y'all like to brag about them? Well, it's cool, that's what I heard, right? Like, you have a story to tell. It shows how strong you are, and okay, listen in. So scars for guys are a bragging point, right? Because they get to tell a story like, oh, I got this when I was out working and hit my head with a shovel or something. I don't know. Like, you get to brag about it, right? And you get to show how strong you are. Sorry for my terrible example of how you would get a scar. Okay, so listen in though, listen in. So scars aren't always pretty, but they're meaningful. There's a story behind them, there's a reason that they're there, and it can show how strong you are, right? So we'll come back to scars in a moment, but for now we're going to go to Hebrews 12, 1 through 2. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. So here's the truth. Authenticity is freeing. And you know why? It's because you don't have to keep up with this like giant snowball of lies that you've just continued to build up, trying to be the person that you so want to be and like the person that would be so popular and gain everybody's approval. Because it's exhausting. Like, I know whenever I've tried to like fake and be perfect and everything, it was exhausting. Like, it was weighing me down. And this says we should strip off anything that weighs us down and slows us down so that we can run the race that has been set before us. And joy awaits on the other side of authenticity. Joy awaits on the other side of authenticity. It's hard, it's uncomfortable to take the mask off and be real, but it is so freeing, guys. Like, you're able to run the race that God has set before you, right? Because authenticity is being who God sees us as and going after the purpose that he has for us. And you can't do that when you're weighed down by all of these things that you're like trying to be. So in 1 Peter 3:15 through 16, it says, instead, you must worship Christ as Lord of your life. And if someone asks you about your hope as a believer, always be ready to explain it. But do this in a gentle and respectful way. Keep your conscience clear. Then if people speak against you, they will be ashamed when they see what a good life you live because you belong to Christ. So when you're authentic, you're a better witness of Christ. You no longer have to keep up with like, oh yeah, what was that story that I said that made me seem like I was so super cool or like so super strong? Or, you know what I mean? Like, you following me? Whenever you're trying to keep up with your lies, like we've all heard this, right? So it's important that you are authentic and you're real so that whenever people ask you about Christ, you can tell them all the great things that he's done through you and in you, right? You can share that testimony and be real about it, right? We just talked about it, the drug addict's testimony, right? He's real and he's authentic, and then it moves us to think, wow, I want to be real and authentic too. So remember the scars that we talked about. Here's a quote from Louis Giglio. It says, "The enemy wants to define you by your scars, but Jesus wants to define you by his." Jesus has so many scars because he loves you so much. Don't pack up. Don't put your pins up. Listen in. Like, this is important. This is the crucial part, okay? Like, dial in, okay? So we're going to move into a time of response. And in this time of response, like, I want to challenge you to put into practice, like, what we just talked about. Be real. Be authentic. And, like, don't be afraid of it. Like, embrace it, because you are in a group of believers that are here for you. You're surrounded by leaders that love you and are there for you, and they're just excited to be able to pour into you. Am I right, leaders? Like, I'm excited to pour in.